and the industry's fears for racing in our region. But first today, retail shopping. Smithfield on the northern side of Cairns is already a second commercial hub for the Cairns region. The question is, should it become an official town centre? The Retailers Association believes there's an opportunity to create what it terms a perfect solution at Smithfield using the 2025 Regional Draft Plan for the Cairns area to seek public input. Executive Director of the Queensland Retailers Association is Scott Driscoll. Scott, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pat.
Look, this has been a real time bomb, this issue. In your mind, what is the perfect solution for Smithfield? What does it look like ahead?
Well, look, Pat, I think what we need to do and what we intend to do as the Retailers Association is go out and take soundings from retailers and consumers up in the Northern Beaches. We've been doing that informally now for some months. I mean, we believe that there is a perfect solution out there. In the lead up to the council election, there was probably what some people would call a perfect storm, and some people were swept away with that. And I think now we've got some willing people at the table who are actually prepared to go back, have a look at what's a good consumer-driven solution for the Northern Beaches for a retail precinct or a town centre, but not something that's purely developer-driven for the sake of throwing some things into the ground and building something. I think what we can have up there is something that will minimise traffic congestion, help those people that have been building businesses for 20-odd years up on the Northern Beaches to continue to grow and serve that area well.
How different is that from what there is right now? I mean, and how is it different from the town centre that was proposed that caused so much angst?
What was proposed, firstly, didn't have any sort of consultation or input from the planning stage or from a blueprint proposal from consumers or retailers. So that was a problem from the start. But secondly, it was attempting to satellite Smithfield, the existing Smithfield precinct. And that wasn't good because what you were going to see was another development pop up 1.5 kilometres down the road. And that wasn't going to be in anyone's interest other than the developers, frankly.
But nonetheless, even if they expand Smithfield, they could still have, couldn't they, too much competition?
Look, I don't think too much competition was the primary concern here. What we didn't want to see was a split in what the offering was. I think if you've got sustainable growth, and everyone wants to see good sustainable growth up on the Northern Beaches, you want to see that complementary to what's already been there for 20 years. And I think if there's, consumer-driven demand, and that's why we want to get the view of consumer, you won't have an oversupply. You'll actually get the right balance.
A lot of people there, though, would say they put, their time and energy and money into establishing a niche market, and they really don't want to duplicate it.
And that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid duplication. We want to avoid oversupply. And I think when you bring consumers to the table, along with retailers, who can actually, at a forum that we're proposing to hold over the next few weeks, in Cairns, put their views forward, put an idea of what they'd like to see on the Northern Beaches, and we want to make a submission on behalf of the association to government on that 2025 plan that you mentioned, and make sure it's the right balance. We want to involve council, we want to involve developers, we want to involve consumers and retailers. Now, that hasn't been done yet. There was something that they called a workshop, but that really didn't have any genuine input from anyone other than developers, from what I could see.
Well, it sounded all a bit tokenistic, don't you think?
It did, and I think what we saw was a knee-jerk reaction and a sort of a bully boy approach by certain people that were really driving an agenda very hard. Now, we're really coming to the table with an open mind, but what our primary concern is, let's not ruin what's already there. Let's build on it. Let's not create a problem up there on the Northern Beaches, but let's do something good for the Northern Beaches of Cairns, for retailers and consumers.
You say you have been out and about talking to people, and I know you have. Are you detecting less anxiety about what could happen?
I think we're detecting the fact that I think we've had a good result so far. I think what we've got now is a commitment from the current mayor to go back to the table. She gave me that commitment during the campaign when we were up here very heavily involved in this issue. And I think with that sort of beacon, along with the Retailer Association's commitment to getting a good result, I think the retailers up there certainly are breathing a sigh of relief. But now we want to make sure that the blueprint that's taken forward by the council and by the state government under the 2025 plan for the Northern Beaches is going to be a good solution, not leaving a big gap for the wrong intent and the wrong outcomes to occur again. We don't want to see that. People have now got a good direction. They've got a good sense of where things are going. So we want to build on that.
Scott Driscoll is with me. He's the Executive Director of the Queensland Retailers Association. You commented on the Mayor and her support, but I would imagine that a pre-election reality or promise is not necessarily the reality after someone is elected. Have you consulted with her this week?
We've spoken to Val's office since election, and I don't believe that commitment's waned at all. I haven't personally spoken to her this week. I probably will intend to catch up over the next couple of weeks. We're in Cairns for a few days this time, and we'll be back in the next few weeks as well a number of times. So at some stage we'll catch up personally, and I'd certainly open the door to the Mayor to actually attend the forum that we're going to hold and get her input as well.
Expansion of the existing facility at Smithfield to cater for what has been proposed in one area. Is there enough room there? Because it does border on parkland. I can imagine some worry about that.
Look, with clever design and clever engineering, there's plenty of room to do all the things that can be good for the northern beaches. There's a lot of proposed road changes up there on the northern beaches that, if it takes into account what is a good solution, I think it's an easily achieved thing in this day and age.
And how long before we might see a development in Smithfield along the lines of what's proposed? I mean, a long series of talk fests and then something will happen?
Look, I hope not. I think what we need to do is put the brakes on knee-jerk reactions right now. We need to get a blueprint then in for when the developers do want to come in collaboratively with the community. And, that will take a little bit of time, but certainly we just want to make sure that the right blueprint's on the table for when that occurs.
Keep in touch, won't you?
Thanks, Pat.
Scott Driscoll, Executive Director of the Queensland Retailers Association. And look, I do want to hear from you this morning on development matters. Another development issue that's in the news